Ha ha! What is going on, crypto people? Man, were we really paying attention to the recent Twitter Spaces with David Schwartz? Did we just gloss over that? I'm going to go over some things that I think is massively significant. And there's a couple of things that we've actually been talking about on this channel for a number of years, especially when it comes to this price of XRP, or maybe the price set of XRP. We're going to get into some stuff. It's interesting to me to say the very least. I can't wait to share that with some of you guys. Where's my thing here? I'm always having some issues with this Zoom. There's YouTube. Oh, there it is right there. There it is right there. I can't wait to get into that. We're going to go over the numbers, go over the market. The market will cause you to drink. The market will cause you to start drinking. Like, what the world? It'll cause you to start drinking. Like, seriously. It'll lead you to drink. What's going on, South Texas crypto? Keyless is in. The lady of crypto is in the building. How are you, miss? Good to see you guys. Look, I think we glossed over. I think we missed the significance of the latest Twitter Spaces with David Schwartz. I really do think we missed it. What's going on, Ian Rivera? Hey, Paso, my friend. Can't stay tonight. Smash a like. XRP breaking $1. Soon. Buckle up. Hey, man, Hugo Philly on South Texas, before you go, he was supposed to be meeting with some people from Celsius this week. I don't know what that means. Is it Monday? Is it Tuesday? Is it Wednesday? But he's supposed to be meeting with them. I think you're the one who turned me on to that, weren't you? But I haven't heard anything. What's going on, Legendary? Good to hear from you, my friend. Listen, did we miss it? Did we miss this Twitter Spaces? Did we miss the significance of David Schwartz hopping on that thing? I think so. I think so. He said a couple of things that, look, I think it just went over people's head. David, he doesn't when he's talking and he's saying things, he has a background where he's telling people the real deal if they'll just pay attention to kind of what he's saying. Like when he talks about the automated market maker, game changer. I just listened to maybe 3 podcasts from Bankless, some dude named Hayden, and another dude talking about Uniswap X, talking about Uniswap V4, and the XRP ledger is going to be that automated market maker version 1 and better, in my humble opinion. Legendary, what's going on, bro? Are NDAs expiring? Yeah, I believe that they are expiring. I believe people are chomping at the bit to make these announcements of what it is that they're doing. We're going to review 3 little segments from a Twitter Spaces that at XRP, the gold stand, which I'm sure is short for standard, held the Twitter Space. We're going to go over those clips because I think people just missed, just to be honest with you. Listen, and by the way, I'm still with my guy, Garrett Soloway, that Bitcoin is going to go below 23,000. And Data Dash is confirming this. If you're not watching Data Dash, go check out Data Dash on YouTube. And Benjamin Cohen, the Plan B, I believe he's the Plan B dude. Same thing. Raoul Powell, same thing. Global liquidity, it ain't here. It's just not happening right now. So, with my push now I was going to start buying some XRP 3 days ago, but after I watched those videos, it's like, I need to wait for at minimum 2 for $1, at minimum. to recap the tens and tens and tens and tens and tens and tens of thousands of XRP that is gone in the debacle that is chapter 11. Hold on a second. Hold on. Sorry about that. I had to check on my data dash. Darcy's like, no way I'm buying now. What's going on, my friend? Yeah. I think I'm going to wait for a minimum of 2 for $1. And I believe we're going to get to 3 for $1 ranges. And again, it's Data Dash saying this. It's my guy, Gareth Soloway, who just has not been incorrect. It's Raul Paul saying it as well. No, Raul Paul believes we're going to, he believes the bottoms are in, so it's not Raul Paul. But it is the Data Dash guy, and it is my guy, Gareth Soloway. And it's Benjamin Cohen. Benjamin Cohen really has it down to within the week to the, weeks to the, days to the weeks of calling this, moves for Bitcoin. Dude is real smart. I watched the interview with him the other day with Rand Nooner. Boy, I tell you, very, very talented. So that's what I'm planning on. We'll see. I just don't think that, even though I'm having to recoup, I just don't think that is. I think it's better to use my dirty, nasty fiat at the 2 for $1 range, and and 3 for $1 range. Yeah. So here's the thing. Ultimately, the 40% from current position for Bitcoin going the other way, it hasn't happened yet. So this is what we'll see. I'm still on my RWA narrative, still on it. My guy Taiki Maeda confirmed it for me. My guy Taiki, the DeFi farmer, calls himself the humble farmer. He confirmed it for me. He's making an interesting play. I'll cover that in another video, but he's making an interesting play on the tokenization of T-bills and the crypto and digital asset platforms that are going to leverage that. Yeah, tokenization of T-bills. It makes sense. If there's a place to start for tokenization, it makes sense for the big players. Everybody's going to do tokenization of real estate, that's for sure. But this tokenization of T-bills, essentially what it is everyone's waking up to the monster that is MakerDAO and Aave and these plays that they're making on these T-bills. The powers that be, BlackRock, Fidelity, Vanguards of the world, they're looking at this play and we need to start to get some of that. At least hedge funds are thinking it. It's just a massive business model. It's a massive business model for sure. You hold the stables, we hold stables, they go make 5% on that money that you're holding for them in stables. They go make 5%. Get these T-bills like clockwork. It's an interesting model. Anyway, but in any case, let's go over these numbers. Shout out to my sponsor, Schwartz Finance. I hope you guys have been paying attention. I hope you've been leveraging that platform. I love it. Pay my bills with crypto. We're still in DeFi. We get the little 2-3X's, right? And we're able to pay our bills directly with earnings, with wins. I love it. It's seamless, keyless. Have you used the Schwartz Finance app? Absolutely seamless. I love it. I'm going to share some more stuff, but I'm going to go over the numbers and I'm going to talk more about my sponsor. And then tomorrow, hopefully, I'll be able to talk about my other sponsor for Hotspot Shield VPN, baby. Yeah, that's right. Let's go. Before I go, did you see the Fed announcement just as the day ended where banks can work with and manage stables and they just need approval? I didn't see that. Yeah, I don't doubt it. Stables is going to take over CBDCs. CBDCs ain't going to make it, man. It's just not going to make it. The banks can work with and manage stable coins. And they just need approval. Interesting. That's some good stuff. I did not see that. Was that on Twitter? Where was this Fed announcement, South Texas? Alex Eats in the building. What's going on, my friend? Let's go over these numbers real quick. I'm going to make this a pretty short. We got going on here. Oh, you know what? Let's not do that. Okay. Let's go over these numbers real quick, fam. Let's go over these numbers. Yes, that's right. I was on Polymesh the other day, a couple of days ago, checking that bad boy out. Yeah, took a position. Non-financial advice, but I took a position on Polymesh. I'm liking what they got going on. We'll talk more about it. Let's go with these numbers. Look, according to CoinGecko, the total cryptocurrency market cap is 1.23 trillion. It is down from over 3 trillion at one time. Bitcoin dominance is at 47%, which means there's no alt season happening. No alt season. Bitcoin is trading at $29,840 again. Ethereum is trading at $1,860 again. And XRP is trading at 63 cents. Again. I need at least 2 for $1, Darcy, before I take some of that dirty, nasty fiat, put it into XRP. So there it is, guys. Look, the market is just doing what the market does. Shiba Inu's up on this because of some, some madness that they expect to happen with barium, whatever it is. I 3X on Shiba Inu and I was out. Took my dollars and I went gone. Let's get into these Twitter spaces because I think it's really significant. I'm going to go over 2 or 3 of these. Let's see, I need something to help with my mouse. Let's go over these Twitter spaces because I think David Schwartz laid down some stuff that perhaps people just not paying attention to. Shout out to 801_XRP for sharing some of these clips. From a recent Twitter space, David Schwartz. Now I know, the entertainers have been sharing this video and or these clips from this Twitter spaces, but they missed it. I think the significance of David Schwartz at 3:30 in the morning, hopping on the Twitter spaces and sharing some very, 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 very significant stuff. And I don't even know if I want to start with this one. I don't know if I want to start with this. Just go. What the world? James Rule is back. Congrats, bro. 801 _ Took forever. I'm so glad James Rule was back. God, like YouTube sometimes. I don't know. The battle for global currency. Interesting. Maybe else. Let me see. Let me do this. David Schwartz tweeted, not on the list, Orange Grove, live beavers, warehouse receipt for whiskey cast. Let me find these Twitter spaces. Shout out to Crypto Eddie. I hope you're well, miss. It's interesting that the Digital Dollar Project used a decentralized exchange for a proof of concept. I thought that was interesting. Medico, Elijah announced a Frankfurt Digital Asset Banking Forum. Doing this rock inside. Okay. All right. I want to get to these Twitter spaces. First of all, how many of you guys caught some of that Twitter space or, caught all of this Twitter space with David Schwartz in attendance? Yeah, I apologize, but for some reason that some of the features of Twitter Blue, sometimes it shows on the Crypto Sieges thing and sometimes it just doesn't. Like, what in the world? All right, what is this? What's happening with special guest Joel Katz? All right, let me see if this is the one I want to share. Yeah, take a listen to this one. So it's really, really significant, some of the things that he says here, but take a listen. Oh, and hopefully you guys can hear that. I can't hear it. It's going on. No power. Oh.
There are a couple of Republican congressmen who have put forward, I think, promising innovation. I agree. And what the last second part of my question would be is in the EU, apart from securities and commodities, we have also utilities and digital assets. It's the PACTE law from France that was incorporated in the MiCA regulations. And I've seen the commissioner of the CFTC holding many meetings, I think, about that certain topic. So in your expert opinion, and I don't know if you're allowed to comment on that, do you think that we'll see something in regards to the utility digital asset in the US going forward?
I certainly hope so. I have to say, honestly, like some of what I've seen lately has not been super encouraging. I mean, I've seen the Democratic Party pushing pretty hard against cryptocurrencies, and there are a couple of Republican congressmen who have put forward, I think, promising legislation, but there doesn't seem to be all that much support. I'm not super encouraged right now, but I'm constantly hoping that things will change. Part of it will depend on how the SEC does in court. To some extent, the SEC doing well in court may prompt people to react, and the SEC doing badly in court may also prompt regulatory. I think either one is probably good for regulatory change, but I don't know. It's been a while. I'm not super bullish on regulation in the United States. And honestly, I've been telling everybody to just, move away. One thing that I hope for is at least if Coinbase succeeds in their lawsuit, and at least if secondary transactions are lawful in the United States, then while there won't be a whole bunch of developments and projects based here, at least people in the United States will be able to access cryptocurrency. At least they won't be cut off. So that's something.
Yeah. That's fair. Could I ask you a second question, please, if that's okay?
Sure.
Stewie, if that's all right, before we go in a tangent with other questions.
After that, or is it?
Cheers. It's a bit in the same topic. So what I've seen a few days prior to the verdict of Judge Torres on the court case, I noticed that there was an agreement between the US and the EU in regards to the Privacy Cyber Shield Act in regards to privacy of EU data or citizens from the EU, their data in the US. And it was the only thing stopping a transatlantic trade agreement in 2016 going forward. It's been denied 3 times in the EU, but now the European Commission actually ruled by decree, which was very undemocratic, and pushing this forward. And after that, we've seen a lot of things happening with social media companies and also with the court cases. It's like it's been, I don't know if it's very much involved in it, but I can't seem to think that on the back end, with cross-border payments, you're eventually going to stumble into this whole GDPR privacy thing. So I was wondering, do you see those things related in a court case like that, suddenly pushing forward the rise of threats, the Twitter becoming XAI launching, lawsuits being dropped against social media companies, and now the SEC also moving forward with like the Ripple court case? Do you see those things connected, or do you think that they're just events that are not related?
So I'm a little outside my field of expertise here, but I think the privacy issues are much bigger when you're talking about big companies like Facebook and Meta and X, trying to get into the cryptocurrency space, or trying to become these sort of financial behemoths where they'll access large amounts of information. I don't think it affects cryptocurrency projects as much. I don't think it affects DeFi as much. If you mean sort of geopolitically how they're intertwined, I think the perception is that the United States wants Europe to ease up on some of these data privacy restrictions so that even data can be just being processed in the United States. And I think the way the Europeans see it is that they sort of have an edge. They see the Americans want something, and as far as they're concerned, it's just a chip to trade for some other concession. So I don't think they're coming from a place, honestly, I mean, to be brutal about it, I don't think they're trying to protect privacy. I don't think they care much about it except as that chip to be traded for something that they want. And I think one of the things that they want is more room for companies in Europe, more revenue in Europe. And I think what's going to happen is they're going to sell off. They're going to, being brutally honest, they're going to sell off their constituents' privacy for money, just like everybody, just like we do. Like if I made up a competitor to Twitter that had no advertising, but it cost $12 a month, well, you saw what happened when, even before Elon Musk took over Twitter, you saw what happened when they tried charging people for fewer ads. Nobody was interested. And so everybody wants to sell their privacy for money. And I think that the EU is going to do the same thing. I think they're going to have these harsh regulations, and then they're going to compromise on them in exchange for other concessions from the United States. We watch it happen.
I like your Georgia.
Interesting take from David there. They're going to sell, they're going to use this whole thing as a bargaining chip, and the EU understands its leverage, right? Understands the leverage and advantage that it has that the US gave up. The US gave it up because they're trying to protect the dollar and defend the dollar. And now the EU has bargaining chips, the UK, London, they all understand now that they're ahead of the game. They have an advantage on the US, and they're going to use it to their advantage because they understand that the digital asset space is global. It's global. I was just reading the other day, Revolut stopping their business in the US, but less than 1% or maybe around 1% of their business is US customers. This thing is global. And unfortunately, current administration and a few people in Congress don't understand it. Like they completely miss it. But the fact that David Schwartz said, you watch. Like, I think a lot of people, kind of forget, he doesn't bring it up much about his background, being in the NSA. One, if not the first blockchain, maybe it was between him and Chalmers, the first blockchain technology patent, back in '88. It was between him and Chalmers, I think, who had the actual first one. The dude has, you don't just kind of get gigs at the NSA. You know what I mean? Like the brain has to operate a different way to get those kind of gigs. And I think David tells us a lot of things. If we would just pay attention, he tells us a lot of very, very, very significant things. Take a listen to this one because he mentions a couple of things that I hadn't heard of. One of them was Prisma. Take a listen to what David is saying here. Very, very significant stuff. Check this one out.
That are out there in the current financial system. Of course, David. Yeah, David, hi. I've got a burning question I've been wanting to ask you for a long time. We saw Exhibit F and Exhibit G in the court case, and it was about how the ODL was too expensive in compared to other transactions that are out there in the current financial systems, and how Ripple incentivized the actual payments to make them cheaper. Has Ripple actually fixed the costings for the ODL transactions themselves now? Or are we still incentivizing the customers?
So it depends which markets and which customers you're talking about. Some markets where some places incentives are still necessary as we work, pretty aggressively to drive costs down. Obviously, it's a huge priority for us to drive down the costs. But what we also do is we target markets that tend to be fairly inefficient. So, for example, like you don't see us targeting the USD to Euro market because it's super efficient. Like you would have to be, tiny fractions of a basis point of where the competition is. But you see us more in markets like USD to MXN, where those markets are less efficient, and so we don't have to be as economical to compete with them. But I think the problem is what happens when people compare the prices is they don't compare all-in prices. So, for example, one of the big advantages of ODL is that you can keep one pile of USD or XRP for multiple corridors, and you don't have to balance, over weekends. And if you do a fair job of including things like the capital savings, then the economics look a lot better. But some of those economics only matter, like that advantage of the economics only matters for a customer that has multiple corridors. So it's also, to some extent, us targeting customers that have needs that it matters. So that's one of the reasons why we pivoted from banks. You know, in the very early days, we thought the right targets for ODL were banks, and we pivoted to non-bank financial institutions and sort of payment services companies because they have a higher cost of capital. And so those capital savings, and of course, the ability to perform transactions on weekends, 24/7, 365, those other benefits kick in. But the economics are complicated. So for example, in the US market, there's lots of liquidity between USD and XRP. And so you can make large transactions and the spreads are tight. Whereas like in Philippine pesos, there isn't as much sort of native liquidity. And so in some cases, like Ripple has to incentivize market making, which we can do by lending XRP. And so that's another interesting thing about the price. Like our cost to lend somebody XRP is zero. Our cost to have XRP sitting somewhere so a customer can get XRP instantly when they need it is zero. But you can't, when you calculate like the economics of ODL, do you include like our cost for those things or do you include fair market cost for them? To some extent, like one secret weapon that Ripple has is we can keep XRP everywhere at literally zero cost. So if like a customer wants to buy XRP on demand, we can leave it ready for them at literally zero cost. We can pre-fund multiple places at literally zero cost. But it's not fair to count that as zero cost, you know, in the economics. So the short version is the shorter version is that it's complicated, and the economics depend on how much value you assign to things like the cost of capital and the need for pre-funding.
Thank you. Can I ask one last question?
Sure.
In the court documents, you talk about an API called Ripple Prisma. And that was a way for the ODL to be able to settle payment into smaller chunks to get a transaction while running it on the ODL, if I remember rightly. Is that still in effect, or is that now part of the AMF?
So right now, ODL doesn't use any DEXs. That may well change. We've been investigating using DEX services for ODL, and that would include being able to trade against AMNs. That doesn't currently happen. Prisma can use DEX liquidity. Prisma can also use multiple exchange liquidity, and it can break large transactions into smaller transactions. It can aggregate them to sort of more intelligently take advantage of liquidity. So there are some markets where markets are thin, but to do a large transaction, if you spread it out over time, you take a little bit of increased risk of volatility, but you take the lower cost. So that's what Prisma does. We have started a major effort to integrate DEX use into ODL, but that does not happen. I think one thing that will make that more practical, what we really need on the XRP ledger is a fantastic like US dollar stablecoin, European Euro stablecoin. If we had really good stablecoins in the major currencies, which we don't have yet, then using the DEX would be more practical. So that's also something that we're hoping will happen. We came very, very close to that. We had a deal that I thought was going to close, and then that was 2.5 years ago when the SEC filed suit against us, and so that kind of torpedoed that deal. So we'll see. But we're talking to banks and larger financial institutions about trying to get them to launch some premium stable coins to make that more practical.
And I'm going to get to the chat here real quick, because what he said there about those stable coins is massive. And then our guy, South Texas Crypto, just let us know that the Fed made an announcement about banks being able to use and or hold stable coins. Interesting that the Fed made this announcement. South Texas shared a link. I'm going to look at this link as well. But how interesting that he was pretty certain that they had a deal that a bank or major financial institution was going to launch a premium stable coin. But it was some, I'm guessing the deal was they were going to be launching it on the XRPL. Interesting that he mentioned stables and the fact that they were very, very close to a deal right before the SEC launch. But doesn't it feel, is it just me, or does it not feel like we're so close to stable coin regulation? Aren't we close? Aren't we close? We're really, really, really close to getting this regulation. And I think if you combine the SEC versus Ripple win for Ripple and giving XRP this clarity, you combine that with stable coin regulation, and I think it's going to be a game changer for the XRPL. Combine that with the AMM, and I think it's going to be really, really, absolutely massive. I really, really do. And these are going to point, all of these things point to the success of the XRPL, because ultimately that's what we want. I believe ultimately we want the success of the XRPL, because that will, it will by default mean success for the asset XRP. Yeah, Winston says right. So people aren't tired with the dollar. So I'm gonna share a very, very, very interesting thing too. And this is my most important part in the Twitter Spaces was the next one the next clip I'll let you guys listen to was David's thesis on this word, this reserve currency alongside the world's reserve currency. I think it's very, very fascinating. And I think what he is saying makes absolute perfecto sense. I really do. Perfecto sense. What else we got going on here? So I'm gonna let you guys share that, but I do think it's interesting that he mentioned that they had this already. They was just right there to ink that deal for the premium stable coin. And I'm guessing if you're inking a deal, it's about being on the ledger, right? I don't know what this Federal Reserve thing is. We're gonna get into that and see. Thanks, South Texas, for sharing that. But look, this Prisma thing, I never heard about it. I think it's interesting that someone in the community found out about this API called the Ripple Prisma. And the ledger has so many features, and it's such a powerful piece of code. It's absolutely unbelievable. But again, they were that close to inking a deal for this premium launch of stablecoins. What do you think's happening now? Do you think that perhaps Ripple has gone back to the people that they just about had to deal with? What do you think? Do you think they went back to them? I think so. Don't you find it fascinating, the timing of this PayPal stablecoin? I find that to be fascinating, the timing of that. Now, PayPal is a for-profit organization. They ain't about crypto. They are a for-profit organization. They got shareholders and all that other nonsense that they answer to, right? Shareholders, right? Board members and all that madness. So I'm not messing around with the PayPal USD. Not at all. First of all, they can freeze your stuff. Just found that out. They can freeze it anytime they want. Remove it anytime they want. Yeah, not hanging out with that. PayPal is trying to make this little play because they know stablecoin regulation is coming. They're trying to make a business. It's kind of like, in my opinion, it's kind of like, you remember when the websites were launching, crypto was just kind of becoming popular, and websites were launching that had like not .crypto, but it had like what was these websites that were launching in, I can't remember what is it. It wasn't Bitcoin, but they were launching a website something that related to crypto, and so everybody was thinking that those companies were in the crypto because they had that something at the end of it, right? And I think that's exactly the same thing that PayPal is doing. They're taking advantage of the momentum and the narrative around stable coins. Not that they don't have one, not that they don't whatever, but they, you know, they want that first movers advantage. They know stable coin legislation is coming, but I mean, you know, PayPal and Paxos got a history in terms of one of the Paxos people used to be at PayPal or something, so it's a history there. So it made sense that they would, you know, kind of partner up for the stable coin. But I just think it's a play on what's to come. But most important play from a business standpoint is they're paying attention to MakerDAO. They're paying attention to Aave and Compound. They realize the massive, massive, massive success of that model, stable coins and T-bills. And PayPal wants to get into that game. You know, they want to get into that game. But I'm not interested in the PayPal stable coin. No shot for me. Nope. And I mean, it's on Ethereum. Yeah, not so much. But the fact that, you know, David is talking about the fact that they can lend this XRP whenever they want, lend it or lease it is significant. And he says that the US dollar and XRP liquidity is massive. I think it's important because in the end, it is going to boil down. It's going to boil down to liquidity, guys. It's going to boil down. I'm talking global liquidity, nationwide liquidity is going to be the answer to the woes of the lack of financial IQ of central bankers, QT or QEs. Ultimately, the answer, the elixir, the answer to all the problems rests in liquidity. The key to not having to worry about inflation or deflation or stagflation, any of that. The key to risk, high risk assets being able to do their thing is going to be liquidity in the market. Liquidity is going to be the thing. I want you guys to take a listen to this last Twitter Spaces here. David says something that I just think that's not the one. There's this one. And I think it's really, really important because I think he's telling everyone the real deal. You know, he can call it a success scenario, but ultimately it's the ideal thing. And it's a plausible possibility for the asset XRP. It really, really is. So take a listen to this. Let's share. I'm gonna share this and I'm gonna hop off. I'm gonna share this with you guys. Let's take a listen to this one.
Should believe that there can be two existing world reserve currencies to simultaneously exist. I do, and I think that could happen. I think it's quite realistic that.
Do you believe that there's a possibility for two reserve currency to possibly exist? And he says, I do. Like, you know, it's not wishful. When when it's wishful thinking, David will say, I wish. Like, I wish this, I wish this, like he said, I wish that we could put the hooks on the XRPL mainnet like yesterday. I wish we could do that. That's what he said. When he speaks, when he says, I wish, that's what he means. But when he speaks in a matter of fact thing, I think it's matter of fact, personally. But let me start it again.
Should believe that there could be two existing world reserve currencies to simultaneously exist. I do, and I think that could happen. I think it's quite realistic that a lot of the world is just done with the dollar as their reserve currency. And I think that there's a lot of places that are willing to try something.
And I think it's really, really important to understand that there's a difference between being done with the dollar and being done with the dollar as the world reserve currency. Very, very important.
Nelson, one of my one of my scenarios, and I don't think it's going to play out quickly, but like one of my wild case success scenarios for a digital asset is if countries start to realize that the US dollar is not going to be the reserve currency forever. Other things are going to be the reserve currency. And the same thing that we saw with banks, like people, when we started selling software to banks, people would say to me, you know, why would a bank use something that like you guys were selling them when they could use something that was like made by banks? And what they didn't realize is that, you know, only like 10 banks in the country on the planet are Deutsche Bank, HSBC, Credit Suisse, JP Morgan Chase, like the ones who would build a system that the entire planet would run on. For the rest of the banks, that's 6,000 smaller banks, those are their biggest, strongest competitors. Those are the entities they hate the most. They would not want to use the system built and maintained by them because it's going to be biased in favor of them.
And this is the thing that we've been trying to say from the onset of this channel. Right? When we were hearing the nonsense about XRP being the baker's coin and Ripple's this and all that, and I kept saying, I did live stream after live stream saying, Ripple is exposing. They're on the inside and they're exposing the flaws and the inefficiencies of the banking model. They're exposing that. How many of us knew about the inefficiencies and the madness in the plumbing of the banking model before the corresponding banking model before Ripple? We didn't know. They're exposing it. And we've been saying on the channel over and over again, it's not the 10,000 banks, it's the top 10 banks. The other 9,990 banks have to pay to play in this corresponding bank amount. He just said that those are the top 10 banks are competition to the other 9,990 banks. The 9,990 banks want something else. And Ripple is providing that for them. They want something else, but he's using that reference to reference the same thing that's going to happen with the reserve currency. Interesting that he said other nations are realizing that the dollar is not going to be the world reserve currency forever. It's going to change. And he said other things, interesting, other things will be the reserve currency.
Just the strongest competitors. And I think the same thing could happen to nations. Like every nation would love for their currency to be the world reserve currency. That's helped the US, you know, that's grown the US economy, quote unquote, unfairly by leaps and bounds for decades. And every other country would be like, yeah, we'd like to have the world be the world reserve currency. But the only countries that could possibly pull it off is the US holding its position, you know, maybe the EU, maybe Russia, you know, maybe one or two others. But realistically, most countries know that if there's going to be a new world reserve currency that's a country's currency, it's not going to be them. And so they might actually prefer a currency that nobody can control to one that's controlled by their largest geopolitical rivals. And so that's like what I think is the biggest possible success scenario for digital assets. If these countries are like, okay, well, the US dollar can't hold on forever, but it's not going to be our currency because no one's going to want to repeat the US dollar. You know, nobody but the EU wants the EU to replace the dollar, right? Nobody but Russia wants the ruble to replace the dollar. Nobody but China wants the yuan to replace the dollar. So maybe they could settle on a currency that nobody could control rather than one controlled by their most powerful geopolitical rival. So if you want a success scenario, that's the one that I think is the most likely.
But the money question is, how do you get everybody to agree?
Well, I mean, they might agree if the alternative is that their geopolitical rivals force some new replacement for the dollar that's not, you know, that it's just if they just replace, you know, the old boss with a new boss. If the choice is no boss, you know, if that happens to make a bunch of cryptocurrency people rich, I don't think that's good. They're going to see that as too much of a minus.
Now, I want you to just think about what he said here, right? Just so much in this little 3 minutes. What he said here, he's getting people to think from his experience. He's getting them to kind of picture the way a nation would think. Like, and I know I did a video, uploaded my latest video, I talked about this, but just think about this for a second. Oh, here's the number one. The people are fed up with the dollar as being the world reserve currency, right? Number two, everyone and their brother understands the ailment of a world reserve currency called the Triffin dilemma. So that's two things. Number one is the dollar as a reserve currency because the US lost their mind, weaponized everything, came up with something called the economic hitman, and just ruined and pillaged country after country after country. That's a fact. That's a fact. That is a fact. The US did that because they had the leverage of the dollar being the world's reserve currency. And instead of being the friendly, open country that everyone thought we were, they pivoted and got greedy. True. So we got the dollar madness, dollar reserve madness. You got the Triffin dilemma, right? And everybody understands it. So all the economists and all the PhDs of every nation understand that the Triffin dilemma with the reserve currency is a real deal. When the US dollar is doing well, cool, right? For the US, right? But it's bad for everyone else. And when it's bad for everyone else, it's not great for the US, right? It's a Triffin dilemma. They understand that. And the other thing that for me that makes sense is they know that the US dollar is no longer going to be a reserve currency, but something's going to be a reserve currency. And I just think this idea, it makes sense to me that nations are waking up to the fact that digital assets provides a global opportunity for every single nation and its citizens. They recognize that. They're going to want a global reserve currency that no one owns. Who's going to want the digital yuan? We're hearing all this news about who's going to want it, except for the people, perhaps one nation in BRICS and the people of China. Right? And he's right. Only the people in China are going to want the yuan. Only people in Russia are going to want the ruble to be the world reserve currency. Only people in the EU are going to want the euro dollar to be the world's reserve currency. But here's the thing, and I think David says it so well: if you don't have any boss, right? In other words, instead of having something shoved down your throat, like fiat currency and the monetary policies that come with it. So these other nations are saying, instead of having this thing being shoved down our throat, what if we just don't have any boss? We just have this, right, this neutral global reserve currency that no one owns. And the rationale will without question be, it's better to have no boss than having somebody else bossing you around, right? It 100% makes sense because they have an option now. Number one, nations are just hip to the game and the challenges of the world of a world reserve currency. They're hip and they're hip to the game now. They understand the bad and the good and the ugly. But what if you could have this reserve currency that no one owns? And it's this massive bridge currency with liquidity to it. So I can go out of the yuan can come, the yuan can leave China, it can hit the XRP ledger, and it can get over to something else that we want to hold. Nations, governments, banks, financial institutions that they want to hold, respectively. Right? It's massive, but think about the fact that he said nations would be good with no boss and will gladly deal with a few crypto people becoming rich. Who's becoming rich? Who's going to become rich? Which crypto people is he talking about? Right? I've been saying this on this channel. You guys know, Legendary, you guys know, I've been saying this, I don't know for how long. I've been saying this stop the share here. Like people think, like the XRP community thinks that your neighbor is gonna know that you're a multi-millionaire, perhaps billionaire, because of XRP. Like people think, oh my God, my neighbor's gonna know. They're not gonna let that happen. Wait a minute, Congress is gonna know. Congress is gonna know that I just went from, right, trading my time for dollars to a multi-gazillionaire. Congress is gonna know. They're not gonna let that happen. Like the current administration is gonna find out. And they're not gonna let it happen. And I've been saying, I don't know how many times I've been saying this, they don't care. They have a liquidity issue. They have a liquidity issue. And the nations around the world have the same issue. The debt is forever not going to be paid. The US is about paying them $1 trillion just in interest. They're just right at $1 trillion in interest. If the US is that bad off, how bad off is Japan? How bad off is Russia? How bad off is China? How bad off is Germany? How bad off is Australia? How bad off is the UK? Like people think that the XRP community thinks that everyone's all up in their business and they're not trying to have you be a millionaire. Like, I'm like, what are you talking about? First of all, it's 8 billion people. And how many people you think even hold XRP? Just even hold it. And then how many of those have a significant amount become a multi-millionaire, billionaire, gazillionaire? How many people do you think that is? It's out of 8 billion people. I don't know about you, but 99.9% of my family, they're not trying to hold any crypto. Tell me about your family. And I just love what David Schwartz says there. He said, rural reserve currency, we don't have to have any boss. Okay, I'm good with the crypto people. I'm good with the few crypto people becoming millionaires. And that's kind of the way I see it, fam. That's exactly the way that I see it. I really, 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 really do. Joe Buddy's checking in here. I haven't heard anything from Joe Buddy. John, appreciate you checking in, brother. Joe Buddy says, what did I miss? Hello from Puerto Rico. Hey, Joe, how are you, bro? Are you new to the channel? Legendary says, it's minuscule. I'm telling you, it's minuscule. I mean, are you trying to tell me that the nations of the world are gonna turn down their ability to transfer, change around their debt situation in a new financial system with the world reserve currency? I don't know if it's going to be actually. But my point is, it ain't going to matter because XRP is the bridge currency. It's the bridge currency. The Central Bank of Australia is not concerned about you becoming a millionaire or multi-billionaire because you hold the digital asset XRP. They're not concerned that, like, the only people worried about XRP being $1,000 are XRP people who just can't fathom it because they can't see themselves being a multi-billionaire, and other people in crypto. That's it. No one else cares about XRP being 1,000 or 2,000 or 4,000 or 5,000 or whatever. Market cap doesn't mean anything. The people who are hung up on market cap don't understand. Like, they don't understand. Market cap is for the masses to be distracted by. That's what the market cap is for. The market cap is to distract the everyday average Joe and Jane in crypto. It's a distraction. It means nada. Because the global financial system is global, and it's massive. And if the US is screwed up, all the other nations are worse off, and they need an answer. And the answer is liquidity. XRP doesn't have to be the most liquid asset. It just happens to have a ledger that can move anything of value in 3 to 5 seconds for less than a penny. And if the TPS is 1,500 now, they've only seen 300 to 500. Okay, that's going to change when the time comes for them to deal with more transactions. They will deal with more transactions. But right now at 1,500 TPS, there still isn't a ledger. It doesn't matter how many TPS it got. If it can't move anything of value, you can't check the box. If it can't move anything of value in 3 to 5 seconds, you can't check that box either. And if it can't move that anything of value in 3 to 5 seconds for less than a penny, you can't check that box either. You got Algorand, you got the XRP ledger, you got a Hedera hash bar, you got these things, right? Just tell me about the people who are on the boards and part of these entities more so than Ripple. I'm talking more so. And if you find one that is at least the same, tell me about the blockchain. And then tell me that blockchain can move anything of value. Oh, it can't move anything of value? About 3 to 5 seconds. Okay, you got some blockchains that can do stuff in 3 to 5 seconds. I heard of a couple that are doing stuff in about a second. Can it move anything of value? And can they do it for less than a penny? Do they have infrastructure in place? Does it have the prowess of the XRPL? We haven't even scratched the surface of the prowess of the XRPL. Like we haven't. And don't forget, Codius is still in the back pocket. It's still in the back pocket. I mean, I'm glad we got Fuller Networks, but Codius is still there. Still waiting to be launched if they want to launch it. Roll Tide Gaming said, Roll Tide, is that Alabama? Yeah, I mean, just think about the timing of that and that happening, right? Do you think that has something to do with the court case? Do you think Ripple do you think Ripple just put that application in a couple of days ago? Roll Tide. You think they just put it in a few days ago? That's been on hold. It's been on hold. Waiting for the court case. There's a lot of things that have been on hold, just waiting for the court case. Again, and I challenge you, I've been on what Tarsi said, Pepe, right? I've been on a lot of blockchains, man. A lot of discords. I've been DeFi all over madness. Just tell me about a chain that I haven't been on DeFi. I've been on all of them. Not Hedera, not Algorand, but I've been on Atom, been on Cosmos. I've been DeFi everywhere. No blockchain community ever says that it can move anything of value in 3 to 5 seconds for less than a penny. None of them have said that. That's why I think it's more important to focus on the ledger than it is on the company Ripple. Because the protocol is the game changer. Until I can, tell me about Solana. Just tell me about Solana. And when you do, don't forget to tell me how many times Solana has broken. Tell me about Cardano. Tell me about the significant partnership. Tell me something about Cardano. What is it? What is the one? I haven't heard it. I mean, Solana community is massive. I have not heard anyone from Solana say that. Nobody. None. Solana community is massive. I haven't heard it from the Phantom ecosystem. What about Polygon? Massive partnerships. Have you ever heard Polygon say that? That they can move anything of value in 3 to 5 seconds for less than a penny. And Polygon's getting ready to go next level, by the way. This ZK EVM they got going on is in proposal to be launched. It's going to be massive. I've never heard anyone from the community say it, ever. So there it is, guys. I'm going to wrap it up. I've been going on for an hour now, but I wanted to come and bring this stuff to you and just kind of give you some food for thought. Look, when David Schwartz talks, people should just really kind of listen. Just really kind of listen. And the fact that the dude said, if a few crypto people get rich, those nations ain't gonna care. So which means he's saying that this currency is gonna be a digital asset. Of course, he can't say XRP. Doesn't mean that he's thinking it as XRP, but of course he can't say it. And he's saying that your neighbor's not gonna care. People in Zimbabwe ain't gonna care. Right? The people in Taiwan, Hong Kong are not going to care. You got to get over that. And by the way, I want you some food for thought. Why are you good with Ethereum being $3,000? What? Tell me. Why are you good with that? But the idea of XRP being $100 is over your head. It's a mind-boggling thing. I get it. Projects have not been on the XRP ledger the way that we would like them to do. And really, the reality is crypto projects haven't been on the XRP ledger. The SMEs and the FIs have been. The banks have been. Interesting that he said that they pivoted from banks to financial institutions. I find that to be interesting. Love America says 1.2 quadrillion. Look, the TPS, someone, I don't know if it was Benjamin Cohen or it was some really smart dev technic guy said that the TPS was really not that important. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm very, very curious about these announcements that these NDAs that are expiring. There's the people that have been waiting on the sidelines, waiting for this ruling. You know, Ripple is busy. You ever wonder why Brad hasn't been on Twitter much after the court case? I mean, he was the first couple of days, but now, like, silence. You know why? He's busy. He's busy, you know, recapping, catching up with those who have been waiting on the sideline for this rule. I believe that 10,000%. All right, guys, look. Thank you so much for hanging out. XRP Precision Beast, it's good to hear from you, bro. Hit those thumbs up, says Joe, buddy. I appreciate that. Love America, Rodwell, Legendary, Roll Tide Gaming. I appreciate you guys checking in. Darcy, I appreciate you being here, my guy. Benjamin Salisbury, miss you checking in, but I appreciate you being here. Do you think XRP is being programmed currency concerns that exist for CBDs and other programmable money? No, I don't. Nope. Joe Buddy says the market cap of Shiba Inu, this is a great point, was impossible until it wasn't. Market cap means nothing. You're right. And again, it pains me for people to be good. Like they wake up in the morning, see Ethereum at $3,000, and they'll be like, they're good. No one gets on Twitter or crypto Twitter or YouTube videos and saying, how dare that happen? No one. Bitcoin gets to $69,000 with little to zero, with zero to minus zero utility. And no one has a problem with it. No, like no one has a problem. No XRP community member has a problem with Bitcoin being at 69,000. No one's screaming from the rooftops, passing out, fainting. No one. But you talking about $100, a 3-digit XRP, people lose their mind. It makes no sense to me. It makes no sense to me. Eddie Williams, what's going on, man? Eddie Williams says, LOL, right. Nobody knows or even cares about crypto. They don't. You are not all of a sudden going to be under surveillance from the FBI. Like some people think they're going to be under surveillance from the CIA, NSA, and the FBI because You know, if XRP hits $1,000, it's game changing. People think they're gonna all of a sudden be under surveillance of the NSA. It's like, what are you talking about? John, thanks for checking in. Winston P. Prescott, my friend, hope you're well out there and one of my favorite places. Keyless is in the building. Appreciate you checking in. As always, Alex Yeet. Hope I didn't miss anyone. Rod O'Brega, I think you appreciate you being here tonight, my friend. Ian Rivera, appreciate you checking in tonight. All right, guys, look, I'm going to end this video like I do all my videos. Thank you for hanging out so much tonight. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. I'm going to remind you guys of something that I do at all of my live streams, and that is to remind you that old money doesn't want you to win. They don't want us to win. They would rather that we remain a cog in their perpetual wheel of trading our time for dollars. They don't want us to play in the same playground that they play in, where we allow our money to work for us. This is our chance to win, guys. The digital asset space is our chance to win. We are in the midst of the greatest transfer of wealth in the history of man. Are you participating, or are you standing on the sidelines? Here's what I do know, that the battle for you has already been fought, and the victory is yours. Go get it. I'll talk to you soon, guys. See you. Bye.